I'm Brad.
I'm Scott.
This is Curiosity.
And we're here with Luisa. Welcome to the show, Luisa.
Thank you, guys.
And just to kick off, one of the things that we're really excited to chat with Luisa about is just kind of how that evolution in your life, and a big theme this season you'll hear Brad and I talk a lot about is bringing the to humanity and celebrating that. And so one of the things
because is in human.
You can't spell it.
You can't spell it without it. Scott, you discovered that.
Brilliant.
You're actually the one that discovered that. No one else has probably ever discovered that before.
Man, it's I know how to spell. It's taking me places, Brad. But the philosophy underpins sort of why we're here and what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it really is just a privilege to be here to kind of have the discussion. And we're doing something that we've not ever done before, which is have a little bit of a preamble. So we were kind of having a little bit of a get to know you session before the chat, which is a lot of fun. So I don't know where to dive in. Brad, you want to start with your first question?
Sure. Well, so building on a little bit what you said, right? For those of you who have been on the journey with us since the beginning of season 1, you heard us say it's all about the unformat, right? And it truly was. We walked in, we hit record, we had a beautiful conversation with every human that we were fortunate enough to spend time and energy with. And in the spirit of evolving, right? The is evolving this season, and we hope that it continues to evolve every season. And this season, the is really being brought to life for what it truly is. It's the philosophy of challenge the status quo, think differently, inspire humanity, bring delight to society, and push the boundaries. And as we really think about the ideals of what the represents, I was just looking again at one of my favorite micro pieces of content out there. It's behind the Mac. And there's this line in there that says, we can't sit and behave. We'd rather defy the rules and amaze. And that really spoke to what I believe the spirit of curiosity is, what the spirit of my own being is. And this season, we're really excited to be bringing people to the table to really allow their voices to be heard in this kind of curiosity thinking type of way. And really those who live the every single day in every facet of their life and their being, and it just organically comes out in every ideal of their humanity. And so Luisa is one that lives this in every aspect of her life. And so we're super excited to have you on today and to hear and to learn how curiosity is leading you on the path of the And so as we kind of just cannonball right in, when you think about curiosity, when you think about your own version of the what's getting you most excited right now?
Oh my gosh. Well, guys, I'm so excited to be here. I woke up very giddy because I've never done this. And literally Brad asked me 2 days ago, it's will you do that? I'm like, yes, I love it. That's how Brad is, very spontaneous. And I think that's part of what's happening also in my life is there's this thing of the uncertain, but it's working out, and it's the freedom of letting that work out as it comes. I think what I'm working in my life right now is come very organically. I'm a fashion producer, creative director, working with fashion designers, but it started very, like I said, organically. I never looked for it. It's something that has always kind of been in my life. And I was the typical kid that would dress all her friends and they would come over and I'm like, oh, you're not wearing that. And then I would redress them with my clothes. And then, okay, we're ready to go out. My parents hated it. They're like, your clothes are all over the city. I'm like, yeah, but everyone looks great. Obviously, growing up, that wasn't a career or anything that people would think, oh, I can do this as my job. But then, so I went to school for a very normal marketing and advertising, which I loved. I had a blast. I went to UT in Austin. But that was always kind of in the back of my life and my mind, and something that it was like a passion of mine. So then I had kids, and it's kind of like maybe the point that we've all have found ourselves maybe in life. And it's like, how do I reinvent myself when you're not happy or things don't work out the way they should when everything is pre-planned? And I went back to that. I'm like, I have no idea where to start, but I know I'm good at that. So just went into retail, literally just walked into a store. I'm like, I don't know where to start, but I'm going to get a job here. And it's just been like that. It's been that process, me wanting to be curious about what clients truly wanted, as opposed to just trying to sell something. Just asking them, what is it that you want? What's your stage in life? How are you? I don't know. If somebody was a new mother, rediscover how to dress themselves and things like that. And just truly connecting with that. And then just finding brands that were doing something fun, as opposed to let's just go to the mall and shop anywhere. And I think that's how the designers started kind of like looking for me, to partner up directly with me, and very organically turn into editorial and finding the visual identity for brands. So yeah, it was very unorthodox. I didn't go to school for that. I don't have any credit to say I went to school for this, but yeah, it's happening, and I'm loving it. Yeah,
I love it. And coming off the excitement and coming off the hills of New York Fashion Week, obviously you are in the fashion space, and you get to bring so much inspiration and so much delight to humanity through fashion. And I've always been fascinated by your perspective of fashion. You've always had this like uncanny ability to obviously just dress very stylishly, but also really push the boundaries of what fashion is. And what you're doing right now with that is so interesting. I mean, as you're thinking about how you bring that high fashion experience to Houston, that's not something that people often think about when they think of Houston. High fashion is not normally one of the primary topics of conversation.
Yeah.
And so why is that exciting for you? And why are you investing your calories and energy in bringing high fashion to Houston?
Well, I think Houston overall is this and we talk about it a lot, Brad, is all of these exciting things are brewing in our city: design, tech, innovation, fashion, art. And I think what you would think are like the capitals of fashion, New York, LA, they're turning their eyes to Houston because there's so much talent here and it's not as saturated. And it's very hush hush. I wish it would stay like that, because I don't want it to turn into that as exciting as going to New York was and seeing the city like that during Fashion Week.
So is there like an underground movement happening right now? Are we a part of the underground fashion movement?
I think so.
Oh man, I've always wanted to be a part of an underground movement.
You know what I think? You know what I think it is?
We're capturing the essence of it on curiosity.
You guys are.
Yes.
You're getting the premise. From what I've learned from brands is Houston, because we're so diverse, it's the perfect market for them. For example, and we can talk about more. We can talk a little bit more about this. What I'm doing with Latin American fashion, it's the perfect marriage between that Latino Hispanic market and the Anglo market. And it's those ladies, when they go shopping, there's not like a division. You see them shopping for the same high-end designers. And it's Latinos that are here being doctors, and they're in the real estate world. And I don't know, it's for them, because once they're in Latin America and they have a good footprint, they stay there, and it's really hard to get out. And you can get successful really quick, but then how do you branch out and come into the US market? And I think Texas is kind of like that gateway to that market, and especially Houston. I've done the research with like Dallas and Austin, and not to say anything, but they're just completely different worlds. Houston, it's a very beautiful marriage of those worlds. That's why it's an interesting market, and I think that's why so many things are brewing here and are happening here.
Well, and there is such a creative energy and creative spirit and almost like unbrand brand that exists within this community.
Yep.
It doesn't seem super obvious on the surface.
No.
To your point.
Yeah, no.
But when you kind of just cannonball in or subtly find your way into certain corners of the Houston community, you start to realize what a creative class there really is. And I think it's so beautiful how you see it in fashion. I see it a lot in art. I see it in what's happening in entertainment in Houston. Mm-hmm. And to see it happening now in fashion in a way that's becoming more obvious, but like you said, hopefully not too obvious too soon, because it's a nice secret that we still get to have. No, there's something really beautiful about that.
For those that maybe aren't familiar with kind of the Latin America fashion scene, how that's translating, like you've used some words to describe it, but like how would you characterize kind of those features and forms, and why is there such good connectivity? Like, what is it about kind of the Houston community that aligns so well? Certainly the presence of those individuals and all of the great kind of background and just kind of the things that are important, but maybe just to get into a little bit of the detail, what are some of the words that you use to describe that intersection
between the Latin American fashion world and here? Yeah. I think it's a very interesting phenomenon that I've witnessed. You know, our Southern girl, they love to be like, you know, take care of themselves and the hair and the makeup and the nails. And they're always looking great. And it doesn't matter if they're going to, I don't know, HEB, like they want to look good. And it's very ingrained in the culture. And I think Latin Americans are the same. Growing up in Colombia, I always heard my grandpa, like, it doesn't matter where you're going, you always have to look good because you never know who you're going to see. And that was so ingrained in me.
It was the same here.
Yes.
I mean, my mom instilled in me from birth, like, you look your best, even if you're walking down the driveway to go and check the mail. Like, you always look buttoned up, ready to go.
And it's a very Southern thing, too. Yeah. I also discovered that when you do that, you carry yourself in a different way and you feel a different way. I mean, fashion is just, you know, clothes and accessories and style. But I do think there's an element of walking out of your door and feeling that you have a good outfit on or a good look or your hair looks good. And the day is different. Like you carry throughout the day in a different way. You have a certain confidence to you. So I think Latin Americans and especially the Southern culture has that in common. And that's why when you have Latin American designers wanting to come into this market is so well received, because obviously we have our Hispanic population here. And like I said, it's just, these are professional high earners, people that have been here for a long time. So they have that disposable income to go spend on fashion and design. And then you have your Southern girl that wants the cool story. And whenever she's going to go brunch at River Oaks Country Club, she has a dress by Joan Ortiz, Efraín Mogollón. And they're like, oh, is this Venezuelan designer? Is this Colombian designers? And all the ladies are like, what? Like, how do I get into that? So I think that's why those two worlds collide in such a beautiful way.
You know, you said something that's really fascinating amongst everything that you said that was also fascinating. But this idea of like the confidence that comes with feeling your best and looking your best. And I don't think that should be understated. I mean, I really believe there is something about our humanity. And I mean, I feel it too. Like there's days when, you know, I've got a new shirt that I'm excited to wear. Like I feel different than if I'm just throwing on like the same old Henley that I wear 99% of the time. Like it does. I got this shirt recently. I was hoping to wear it today, but it was dirty. And it says support dope females. And it's my new favorite shirt. Like I've been wearing it with blazers. Like I think one day I wore it 2 days in a row. I was so excited because it didn't smell yet. It was amazing. But like there is like, I mean, you just feel confident walking out the door. Like you feel good about yourself. And there's something very exciting about that. I also got a blazer made, and I have on the collar now, and I have curiosity on the inside in pink.
Yes.
Just saying. So I am really jazzed about that too. And actually wore that with the support dope female shirt. And I mean, I felt
you need one.
Like I felt
yeah, I do.
Fuego is fire.
Yes.
I felt fuego. I felt straight up fuego. I was like, I am living my best life today. I got all these compliments and I was like, oh, thank you. It does. But I mean, like, half jokes aside, you feel different. There's something about the confidence that brings. I mean, if we just think about Luisa for a moment, right? We didn't fully introduce this in the moment, but I mean, 3-time entrepreneur, mom of 2 beautiful, amazing young humans, incredible partner and wife to your also wonderful husband. Both of y'all entrepreneurs can't imagine what that's like. It must be amazing and terrifying all at the same time, and then also like what you're doing now in your most recent journey and endeavor. I mean, to not just get into fashion in Houston, but to bring an entirely new market and an entirely new demographic into the Houston community. Like you are going to these other places around the world and you're saying, hey, come to Houston. Like you have a vision for something much bigger than just high fashion. And so, I mean, when I say living the like you live it in every aspect of your life. Also, as a traveler, traveling the world, like y'all just got back from an epic journey, an incredible travel experience. It was more than, it was like an adventure. It was fascinating to watch it on Instagram and to get the text and the photos was so cool. So, I mean, unpacking all of that for a moment, right?
Yeah.
You're doing a lot every day. And it's so beautiful how the is just so naturally interwoven in your own humanity, right? Mm-hmm. With the in the human. I mean, we got to keep building on this, but it's pretty beautiful. So distilling all of that down, right? Yeah. Let's stay in this fashion space for a little bit, but could you share a little bit more about what is that vision for Latin high fashion and what would you like to see it become? And how are you kind of leading the charge on that and being the tip of the spear? And what do you think that's going to be in the next year or 2?
Yes, I am really, really excited. But for example, first week of October, we're going to have this marketplace pop up at River Oaks District called Stitch Lab. They're from Miami and they've been in Miami for 5 years, extremely successful. And the founder, Karina Rosendo, started because she wanted to support Latin American design and give them a platform here in the U.S. market. And then crazy enough, back in November, she called me and she's like, Luisa, is Texas, is Houston. We're going to take it out of Miami for the first time. And it's Houston. I was like, yes. So we're starting with little initiatives here, like that here and there. Well, not little. It's going to be a 3-day pop-up event with 20 brands from Latin America, Argentina, Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador. And we want to, there's a gap in this market and in our city for good, high-end, sustainable Latin American design. And people want it. Like I said, like I wear a dress or a shirt from one of the designers and I always get stopped. It's like, where did you get it? And there's not a place for me to say, oh, you can go here in, I don't know, Rice Village, Galleria. There's not a place here in Houston where people can find these pieces. So we definitely want to fill that gap and show the U.S. market, starting with Houston, of course, because it's our home. The beautiful things that are happening in our countries and the beautiful design that is coming out of there and that it is good quality and just changing the face of fashion a little bit. I like I said at the beginning, I love the actual story that a designer or a piece carries for whoever is going to buy it, more than just going to whatever store or the mall and buying just clothes for the sake of buying clothes. I think it's the story of supporting an entrepreneur that is extremely talented. And then once you have that shirt or that dress or whatever piece, you carry the story with you. It's not just a look. I think there's so many stories to be told with these people. And I would like to see that fashion industry to turn more into, think people that are doing significant things with their talent within the fashion space, and being able to tell their story, because it's more than just any other brand, you know?
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting too, right? Because you spoke about not only kind of pushing the boundaries of what you believe fashion is, also sustainability, playing a core role in that, right?
Yes.
And in a moment in time when that's a really important conversation to be having, because there's a lot of waste that comes with fashion, right?
Yes.
And so thinking about how we upcycle, how it fits in a circular economy. Like I saw the coolest ad. It was Madewell in Manhattan a couple weeks ago when we were there, and they had just all these recycled jeans, and you could come in and you could actually like donate your jeans, whatever it was, 1 pair, 2 pairs, 3 pairs, however much you wanted. I think you got like $10 per pair. And they had just this wall. It was almost like a city block, probably about 20, 30 feet high, of just recycled jeans that they were going to upcycle and recycle and put back into circular economy. I was like, that is such a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we all also are aware that there's waste that comes with that. So not only do you have this beautiful vision for bringing this high fashion to Houston, but also making sure it's sustainable. And so share a little bit more about that. What does that look like?
Well, a lot of these brands just produce like small batch, right? So they're not mass producing anything. Their collections are extremely small, which makes them exclusive as well. So once you find that piece, and if it's sold out, it's sold out. The majority of these brands work with artisans back in their country. So and sustainability, especially within the fashion space, is so broad. So a lot of brands can say they're sustainable because, I don't know, like you bring back your used clothes and then they give some of that percentage to like a nonprofit or something like that. But it's digging deeper into what is it that is happening in the back end of your production and who's making these garments. And the story that these brands bring is the story of the artisans of their community. And a lot of these brands in the not the logo but the tag will say this was made by Rosa in the community of, I don't know, Cuenca in Ecuador. So you can track back the actual work that these brands are doing through their passion and love for good design and for fashion. But it's changing. It's like when we were growing up, I don't know if you guys had this, but my parents, if we had an event, we would go to the tailor and they would take measures and they would make me a dress, as opposed to let's go to the mall and we can find a dress anywhere. It's going back to the roots of creating pieces and garments that will last us longer. They're good quality pieces, and that we're kind of like giving our little piece to, not mass producing and not cluttering our world, and still get to wear really cool, amazing pieces,
Yeah. Wow.
Can we talk a little bit about just kind of life at home as two entrepreneurs anchoring this household, and some of the, just to the extent that you're willing to share, like what are some of the tangible things that you and Jez put into place to make sure that your home environment is it's going to be chaotic. All home environments are chaotic. I've got 4 kids. It's chaos regardless. But just would love to hear a bit about how you guys work through that and manage that, because it's such a lovely symbiosis, and there's so many cool things that you guys are able to do and experiences to provide for your kids. But just would love to know if there's kind of any underpinning philosophies or things that are kind of helping to drive that.
I wish. I think it's like a roller coaster, like we were saying earlier. Yes, I think the key is always supporting each other, because it's a challenge for sure. It's definitely a challenge. And you guys know Jesse's also a serial entrepreneur and all these ideas, like living in his mind. And I admire him so much. I mean, I think he was born to be an entrepreneur. It was just accidental for me. I was sure I was going to work in an ad agency until the day I retired, but it just happened for me. And I think the key is always supporting each other through the ups and the downs of living this entrepreneur life, because sometimes things don't work. And like Brad said, this is my third company. The first one was devastating. I'm like, well, am I failing? And Jess was the one that was like, don't see it like that. Like, what did you learn? What are you going to take to your next adventure within your work space? So I think it's a balance of lifting each other up when things are not working. And then when things are working, it's like celebrating every single victory. I think for our kids, it's very cool. I love that they get to see us do what we're passionate about. The other day I was talking to a friend, and I think our generation is kind of like the sandwich generation that was raised by humans that graduated college and their goal was to go into one corporation and retire from the same corporation. And that was success. That was the definition of success. And then the generation ahead of us is, I want every other week off and I want all the benefits. And if you don't keep me happy, I'm going to go to another job. And at the end of the day, whatever the reality is, are you doing what you're passionate about and what you love? And for me, the most important thing is that my kids get to see that we're both living, like pursuing what we're truly passionate about. Time-wise, it gets crazy. It's like a tag game. Like, I have a meeting here. Oh, I have a meeting here. Okay, can you move it to an hour? And then we're like play tag and make sure that we're present for the kids and they both see us at home too, because it does get crazy, but it's a fun life. It's exciting, if anything.
There's very few down moments. That's really cool.
I just think it's special because I just think about the way that kind of parenting and society, and just it's kind of easy to just kind of get allow kids to just kind of get lost in the world of being entertained, that they're just kind of just to be distracted, and you lose sort of this depth of connectivity with just sort of the world and who you are and all these other things. And it just seems like you guys have done just this great job of being deliberate, of getting them out to Guatemala on kind of spend time with family there and just sort of reconnect with nature, and to have sort of those experiences and those connections to help kind of build that foundation. And I think that that's something that in sort of modern society, we all kind of struggle with, that
right.
It's not easy to have kids and do all of those things, and to help build up that next generation. I think is just really special.
Yeah, thank you. Like, for example, Gigi, she's my daughter. She's 13, and she's getting to a point where she can go with me to events or fashion shows and see it firsthand. And I think that's so exciting. I don't know if she's going to do anything within the fashion world, but the fact that she's getting to an age where she can feel that she's learning something, and any sort of skill, organizational or just helping me with whatever. And then getting immersed in that industry from a young age, that would have helped me a lot when I was little to to see something firsthand. And maybe that's when you're like, oh, I think I want to do this, or I don't want to do this. Those are things that are priceless that we can give our kids to kind of show them firsthand what is it that we do. And then just does it in like the outdoors. He takes the kids camping and like hiking, and he does it that way. But yeah, I think that goes a long way because they don't feel excluded. They don't feel like, oh, they're busy all the time. What is it that they're doing? They fully understand, and they get to participate.
Their sleeves are rolled up and they're kind of in the middle of it.
Yes.
And I don't want to wander too far down this path, but it's the resilience that it builds in people, of the ability to sort of say fail forward kind of thing, that you just kind of get to iterate and experience that, hey, yeah, Mom's first business didn't work out, but here she is on the third. Like, this is something that, the ability to just kind of weather life's storms more effectively, I think is just a cool thing that is challenging to kind of bring into the forefront of just kind of this next generation coming out of COVID and coming with all the technology integration and things. It's just real easy to see that disconnect. And so,
So that's interesting, right? Because I'm sitting here kind of just listening and obviously spending lots of time with you all over the years. I've always admired how you do provide that access and that exposure to Gigi and Luca. Like, it's very cool. It's very special. It's very, I don't know what the right word is. It's just, it's very interesting, but it's more than that. It's like they're getting to be on this great adventure with you and Jez. Mm-hmm. And as a family, you're on this great adventure of life, and you constantly bring not only variability, but like very untraditional aspects of that to life. I mean, like, they went and spent a month in the jungle over the summer. Like, that's incredible. Of course, not everyone has parents who have a business that happens to be in the jungles of Guatemala. Yeah. However, like, just like that type of experience and that shared experience is so beautiful. I mean, I can hardly imagine what they're going to be like as these young humans become young adult humans. I mean, they're just going to have, and they may never know any different. They probably won't, but they'll see their peers and realize they might be a little bit different than them. Yeah. But it's incredible that they just get that kind of exposure at such a young age. I would imagine they're already super cool, but they're going to be even cooler and more interesting themselves as they continue to just have these experiences, because they're exposed to things that not everyone gets to have exposure to. Right. I didn't have that kind of exposure growing up, and, found my way into more of like an lifestyle as I grew up. And I'm super fortunate for the life that I had as a child. It was beautiful, but I would just wonder, like, man, what would it be like to be able to have that kind of exposure and access? And y'all just got back from a pretty epic, almost like round the world travel experience y'all took over the summer. Mm-hmm. Share a little bit about where y'all went, and, what were some of those like cool highlight moments, like the things that maybe weren't on Instagram, right? Like, just what were some of those kind of special moments that were really intimate that you all shared as a family? And what were some of the, those memories that are just going to continue to inspire you?
Yeah, we went to, it was a month-long trip. We started in Colombia, seeing my family. We, due to COVID, we weren't able to go for 3 years. So we started in Cartagena, Colombia. We took some of our friends from here over to the beach for a few days to show them kind of around my culture, my people. I was so excited. It's the first time I've done that. And then the second part of the Colombia trip, we stayed in Bogota, where I'm from, the capital, just to be with my family, grandma, cousins, childhood friends. It's always amazing to take the kids, because we've been taking them since they were born at least once a year. So they feel very Colombian. It's super cute to see. They get there, and then within 3 days they're speaking Spanish with their very thick American accent, rolling their R's as much as they can. It's very cute. So that was cool to spend time with family in Colombia. Then we came back for 3 days, literally did laundry, unpacked, repacked, and we took off for
Went to a really fun dinner.
Oh, we have to squeeze it in. It's like, guys, we don't have time for anything, but we're going to go to dinner. And then went to Greece.
That was at Zinchao, right?
Zinchao.
Yeah, that place was good.
Oh my gosh. Yes. There was another episode to talk about all the restaurants we've been
That's
to.
the first time you've ever left a drunk strategy dinner club that we have at 10
Early.
p.m. Like normally Luisa, it's like 2, 3 a.m. She actually changed drunk strategy to grandpa strategy in the message chain one night because it was like 1 a.m. and we were all like, we have to go to bed because we're not functioning anymore.
So frustrated.
She was so mad at us. So she put grandpa strategy and put all these like emojis of grandpas and grandpas. So the next morning we wake up and we're all just dying laughing. It was
like
so great.
Disappointed.
So the fact that she left at 10 p.m. it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That was rare.
We had to
because you were
pack.
leaving at 4 a.m.
Yes. I had to pack 4 people. And then leaving the next day at like 4 a.m. on like a 12-hour trip to Greece. Super excited, of course, like not complaining. But one of my sisters-in-law lives in Norway. So we wanted to get together again because of COVID. We hadn't seen each other for a long time. And I think Greece was kind of like close to them. And we've been wanting to do it. So the whole family on the Babarczy side and Jess's side, we all met in Greece for a family reunion. And it was amazing. Like Brad was saying, I think you always have this image of Greece, like very Instagram picture of the white houses with the blue roof and the bugambillas and it looks amazing and it looks lovely, but knowing my husband and his family, which is amazing, I love that quality in them, is they want the non-Instagram picture. They want the local. They want to sit and with the local people at the local restaurant and just get the full experience everywhere they go. And it's just the best way to do it. We did end up in the Mamma Mia Island, which is really cute, where they film Mamma Mia.
That's cool.
Gigi loved it, of course, that part of it. We watched it like 3 times prepping for the trip before going. And we were there for, I think, almost 2 weeks. We did a couple of the islands. Then we went to Ibiza. I was telling you, Scott, I never thought I was going to go to Ibiza with kids, but it happened. And we didn't do the heavy partying with the kids, I promise. It was actually very calm and nice. We love Spain. And then on our way back, we were going to go through Paris, and we decided to just extend the trip a couple days. And we went to Paris for 4 days. It was very, very special to see Gigi feeling extremely identified with the place. I mean, she loved Greece and she loved being with her cousins and swimming in the ocean. But Paris, I saw her face seeing the art when we were at the Louvre and the architecture and the Eiffel Tower and like all these places. And her eyes were like lighting up. And she told me, she's like, I think I'm going to end up here one day. I was like, oh, wow. Like it's very cool through traveling, seeing the different personalities, how they come out and what people light up with and identified with. For me was the history. I'm a history geek. And just seeing the history in Greece and in Paris and was amazing. For her was the art. For her was that beauty of the architecture and the art again. And so I think it's cool. I think through traveling, you get to know the personalities of like the people you're with very well. Yeah.
There's a great phrase out there. I don't know who it's attributed to, but don't travel to see a foreign land, but to see your home country as a foreign land.
Oh, wow.
And that by traveling, you get to see and add perspective that when you arrive back to your home, that you can see it in context.
That is so true. Yes. I think that definitely happened for us. And coming back, hearing them, just asking, what you do with your kids. What was your favorite part of the trip? And just hearing them. And it's very interesting what the things they say. They would think it's like, oh, I don't know. It was, swimming but they come up with this very interesting, for Luca, I was
about to ask,
like,
what was Luca's perspective? Because he's 8 now?
8.
Yeah.
They're troopers.
Like, what was his Like, what made him come most alive?
Luca, his personality, he has a sense of awe that is extremely impressive. Luca, I always joke, you can pack a banana and like gift wrapping and put it under the tree during Christmas, and he'll open it and be like, the banana I've always wanted, and like be so excited. Everything is like that for
beautiful.
him. He inspires me a lot to not lose that sense of awe.
Wow.
It was a long trip. It was long hours. It was nonstop. And this kid was just excited that he was in a new place. He'd be like, look at that building. And look, we get to the Eiffel Tower for the first time in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw this creepy Mickey Mouse person with the Mickey Mouse costume. And like, he was... Mickey
Not that we're saying Mickey's creepy, to be clear. We love Mickey.
We love
this
Mickey
particular
Mouse.
Person wearing the costume.
He's had that costume for I don't know how many years, because it was kind of like the old school creepy Mickey Mouse. But anyway, Luca could not believe that he was in France. He's like,
Mickey's in France.
Mickey's in France. And
I'm assuming y'all did not do Disney Paris.
No,
That's the antithesis of y'all's way of traveling and exploring. So
no,
it's cool. It's cool.
No, he was happy with his creepy Mickey
he was
Mouse.
happy with creepy Mickey.
Wearing some like awkward tennis shoes.
Disney didn't even know they had a creepy Mickey. Now they know they have a creepy Mickey.
That was the highlight of his trip.
Inspired.
He took pictures with him. He could not believe that he had seen it right in front of the Eiffel Tower.
That's amazing. Oh, how beautiful.
Yeah, it was very, very, it was very cool. And obviously for me, being in the fashion capital of the world was incredible. You can't tell why. You know, this.
Oh, yeah. It's
the amount of beauty around it.
It's so special.
Yeah.
Well, and I love how you said for the first time you saw Gigi identify with a place, with a space, with a culture, with architecture, with art, with everything that, makes Paris the very magical place that it really is. Sky and her definitely need to spend some time talking about Paris.
Yes.
Sky cried the first time when we got to Paris. It was amazing. She saw the Eiffel Tower and started crying.
Oh, yeah.
So she also identifies very much with Paris. And I love it as well. It's beautiful, but I don't know that I have the same affinity that her and Gigi have for it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I can have that much affinity. It's incredible to watch and I get pretty excited. So that's saying a lot.
Maybe it's a different place for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everywhere I get really pretty jazzed about. And, if you think about that, right, like there's something about our environment and the role that our environment plays in shaping our humanity, our identity, how we interact, how we dress, how we communicate, the things that we're passionate about and that we enjoy. So much comes to the environment that we're in. And, you've talked about creating a really special environment in your home, with your family, with your children, with your spouse. You've talked about how you're doing that in Houston with creating this community. One thing we haven't touched on specifically is your third brand. You are launching this brand. And so can we get a little sneak peek into what this is?
Yes, you guys are getting the press of it all.
Heard here first, I believe,
yes.
Right? Like, that's pretty great.
Yes, you guys are getting kind of like the premise of it all here. It tags to everything that we've been talking about on like the unorthodox way of like things happening. And that's how it's been. Back in 2019, I met this other girl from Colombia, Alejandra Bravo. She was almost kind of like in the same path in life of having kids. And she's like, I don't know how to get back into the workforce. I know I have this passion. Where do I even start? And we met and she's like, okay, I love the fashion space. I love the fashion industry. Her background was in oil and gas in corporate America. And she went to New York, got a master's in Parsons. But she's like, I don't know what to do with my talent within that space. So I'm like, are you kidding? Like, nothing will happen for the brands. Like, my part of the creative and the visual and the campaigns and the photos, they can't happen if you don't have a solid structure behind it, and sales strategy and logistics and organizational and that's you. And she's like, oh my gosh, like I never thought about this. So this relationship started very, very much raw and organic. And we were just having conversations with brands and kind of like advising them on things here and there, until it got to a place where these brands were calling us and saying, how do we get like the full scope of the consulting? And because we need from A to Z. So we're like, let's just start like legitimately start something to help these brands. And the other day we were thinking about a name, and we're like, kept thinking, okay, we take these brands from A to Z, from here to there, and because we're working with all Latin American brands at the point, we're taking them south to north because they want to come into the North American market.
Oh, I love that.
It's cool.
From like east to west, and we kept playing with this concept, and we're like south to north. Not only is just literally South America to North America, but it's like this notion of like they're here and we're elevating them. We're bringing them up. So that's the name of our company, South to North. We're already working with some beautiful, beautiful brands. Last week we did a full one-day campaign to rebrand a Puerto Rican handbag, high-end leather handbag brand. And we're so excited for Houston to see what's coming and what we're going to bring to the fashion space here.
That's so beautiful.
That's cool.
I mean, there's such a metaphor within South to North, but as y'all continue on the journey, I can only hope that continues to evolve. And I mean, there's an identity there. There's a spirit there. There's something really beautiful about this ideals of South to North. I mean, and one really cool example of that you had shared not too long ago, you partnered with a designer, a Latin designer at an international competition to lead creative and production, and y'all won.
Yes.
I mean, it was like a David and Goliath kind of moment, right?
Yes.
So could you share a little bit about, I mean, that as one way of example of how you're living South to North?
Yes, I think that moment for us, we looked at each other. We were in Miami, and when this designer won, and we had been part of kind of helping her build this pitch, and we looked at each other and we're like, we have to run with this. Like, this is obviously happening.
Well, in that pitch, talk about living the I mean, talk a little bit about what y'all did for that pitch, because it stood out.
Yeah. So she's a Venezuelan jewelry designer. She's been in Houston for a while now. She's amazing. She's been doing everything like from her living room, but she has a very clear concept, very like hard worker. I met her like 5 years ago at some event. And since then we've been working together kind of on her visuals and photo shoots. And she called me one day. She's like, I'm applying for Latin American Fashion Summit. It's the biggest summit in the world right now for Latin American brands. And they have this thing called Pitch to Laughs, which is a competition where they present to this top-notch panel of judges like Moda Operandi, Net-a-Porter, Bergdorf's, like crazy names. And these little brands that they do have a footprint in their country, but they're at the end of the day, they're still pretty small, get to showcase to the world what they're doing. So he's like, I don't know if I'm even going to make it in the finalists, but I'm pitching. I'm like, here we go. Let's do this. We need to come up with like the most impactful content and campaign of your career so far. We started working with an amazing team for months and months and months. She made it to the semifinalists and then the 5 finalists. We got to Miami with this video that I remember showing my friends like beforehand, because most of them are amazing creatives. And I'm like, tell me your opinion. I think this is the most amazing thing. And
y'all were like, talk about ingenuity and grassroots, like that video. I mean, you like filmed it like in y'all's home.
my living room.
You turned your living room into a studio. I mean, it is beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful pieces of content I've probably ever seen.
There was a cool moment where we're thinking about what music for the video, and the whole concept of her jewelry is beads. Like everything is made out of little beads, and there's an element of sound to her pieces. When you grab them, they sound. And I turned to the team and I said, "Is it crazy to say no music? I want to hear the beats when she's like pouring them on the spinner. I want to hear the thread when she threads the needles, like kind of like that movement." And we're like, this is so scary, but let's do it. And sure enough.
So it was the sounds of like producing.
The sound of creation.
The sound of
creating. Like,
literally.
Oh my gosh.
When she was presenting. Yeah. Well, I'll show it to you, Scott. It's amazing. But anyway, she was presenting it to the room, and it was 20-something judges around the table, the most intimidating room I've seen in my life. And they rolled the video, and everything was quiet, and all you could hear was the breathing and the beats. And my heart was about to explode. I'm like, and you could tell the faces of the judges, like, wow. I'm like, what's happening? But anyway, she ended up winning. She
Amazing.
took Designer of the Year for accessories category. It was an amazing, amazing moment for all of us, obviously for her. She's worked so hard for this and she deserves it. But that was the moment that Ale and I looked at each other and we're like, this is a thing. This is a thing. We have something in our hands.
So now we've got Beyonce's visual album, Lemonade, and we've got Luisa Babarczy creating visual content without sound, but letting creation be sound.
Yeah. Susana
I mean, those
Vega's.
Are definitely synonymous at this point.
Susana Vega's video, like up there with Lemonade.
It's basically
Thank you, Brad.
up there with Lemonade. Yeah, in my humble yet not so humble opinion.
I feel like I believe you. Brad is the most beautiful cheerleader, amazing encourager I've ever met in my life. Like every time I showed him whatever, he's like, "Fran, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen."
Well, it's easy when you do incredible work, right? Like when you're always operating at awesome and more than awesome, it's easy to celebrate and to build up. You know, if you're operating at less than awesome, I mean, we got work. But you're just constantly above the above and within the
No, yeah,
awesome.
It was.
That's cool. I feel like that deserves like a round of applause. Like, that's beautiful.
There's definitely a way in post-production that we've got to get like a clip of the video or something that we
Let's
can
do
play
it.
on like the visual side of it while you're talking about
for
it.
sure.
We've covered so much awesome territory. It's and this is a fun new format. I feel like the idea, sort of the sub theme that we're trying to get into is that delighting and kind of surprising humanity. And like, it's just incredible that, you know, we've what you've just been describing, just that tactile experience. I don't know. We're just like thinking with as a kid, you know, you're playing and just remember we had like these bins of like rice and beans and you could like, you know, sift them out and you kind of have that. And just there's something that so many kids growing up have, that like tactile experience. And so to sort of draw on that and just drive that sort of like raw, authentic connection with those beads, I think is really special.
The authenticity of that is just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Special.
It's like going back to production, what we were saying, like the actual process of producing a piece. And sometimes there's so many elements that we don't even like pay attention to, like that, like her pieces make sound, or making a textile and the sound that it makes, or the image that it produces is things that we don't truly even think about.
It's like embracing like the Foley studio kind of thing on the back production of movies and things, the actual kind of sound and the experience of just like garments rubbing together and kind of that kind
of how they
style
would create those moments. If you think about it, it's when you ask somebody about reading and they're like, I prefer the old school book than like a Kindle because I love the sound of like the page turning or the smell of the actual book of like there's some of that is getting lost in this world right now.
So with the close of each episode, officially decided right now, by the way, since curiosity is all about asking questions, maybe the question that we leave the audience with is, what are the sounds that you're not hearing every day in your daily life? And how can we pay more attention to the sounds that we aren't hearing and find delight and beauty in those?
It's like a stop and smell the roses challenge, but with
I think
sound.
so.
Oh, I love that.
So every episode for season 2, we're going to close with a question. We're going to leave the audience with to explore.
Yeah.
I love it.
Louisa, thanks for being on the show. This has been a blast.
It's been everything.
How fun.
Love it.
Love talking to you guys. I don't get to do this very often, so I love it.
Boom.
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 Onward